Ooh, I always have to stop myself just in time to like pause.
What you
'Cause
be doing?
I'm
What
back
you
here.
be doing?
I'm waiting for my page to go live, and I'm moving. And I was like, "Wait a minute, music's over." What's up, y'all? Happy Tuesday. Q and I just acknowledged we are so very tired in so many ways. However, as soon as I said that, I thought to myself, "But I am so excited to be having a conversation." So here we are, and I actually have notes from when this idea came about. So I was like, "Ooh,
Okay.
we definitely have to go back to some of these things." Well, what's up? It's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. We obviously took last Tuesday off. We were not here last Tuesday. And next Tuesday is the last
Live.
Tuesday of the
Very
month.
good stuff.
So we will be at the food truck, of course, up at Dirty Glove on Howard Lane. And of course, more and more information will be on the Facebook page. However, next Tuesday is the last Tuesday in person. So come
Just
join us.
prepare to be there. It's good. It's always gonna be good food,
Oh,
good conversation. It's
Yep.
It's special. I enjoy having live conversations, but in person, it's that it's different.
It definitely makes me feel like now that we've done more than just one, that I'm like, man, I wish I wish COVID never happened for a million reasons, right? But I wish that, we were forced to go online. Like we didn't start this out as an online thing. We just went online because that's what we had to do because COVID shut down everybody. And the coffee shop that we used to meet at every Tuesday night live, in person, not live, in person, was on the list of places you couldn't go to for a while.
Right.
So we went this method, and this has been phenomenal, right? Because we've been blessed to be able to reach so many people we would never have reached.
And I said a very good conversation, reach people that we never reached, and we have a trail. Like we have things that we can go back and watch now. We have so many good conversations that were never recorded, that never documented. Now we got a catalog.
And when I hear people sometimes talk about like, you hear artists talk about a song that they did, or you hear, maybe an actor or actress talk about an episode that they did, and you're like, God, I don't fucking remember that, right? But as I go back and as I think about all the conversations that we have, I can now be like, we've talked about this, and we've talked about this, and we've talked about this, and we've talked about this. Like, we've talked about a lot of stuff. We have talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. So,
but never this topic that we're about to talk about today.
No, we haven't talked about this one. This is a new one. This is new. And it's crazy how these new topics come about. Like we were literally in conversation 2 weeks ago about, I don't know what we were talking about, but somehow.
We were talking about the Book of Clarence.
Oh, that's right. Somehow we.
I remember that because I was talking to my friend earlier that he was asking me, have you seen the Book of Clarence? No, I was talking about the show, what we were talking about, Blind Assumption.
Yeah, I see notes on here to say Clarence.
And then later he mentioned, like, have you seen the Book of Clarence? I'm like, oh yeah, I watched that movie 2 times. I actually wanted to do a Freethinkers conversation about it. I'm like, oh, that's actually how the conversation we're doing today started, from the Book of Clarence.
True. Which was, what did we call it? Blind Assumption. And one of the things that we were obviously talking about when this thought came out of your brain was trolling. And so there was obviously something that made you think about people's automatic assumptions that trolling videos, like you just automatically assume that this is a trolling video. Like you can't possibly think that this is a real, this can't be a real depiction. Like, this is trolling video, So we were talking about
that's one too. But I was also, because the Book of Clarence goes in, it's like a side story to the story of Jesus Christ. It's during the same time of Jesus. Jesus is doing everything with his miracles and the whole story. And I kind of glossed over it. I'm like, yeah, everybody knows the story of Jesus. But this is about, and it's like, You was like, I don't know if everybody knows this. I was like, really? So then I did a run, and you like, my kids probably wouldn't know that. And I was like, wow, that's crazy how you just assume certain things that's just common. Oh, everybody knows that. At least go to Easter once. So like the average person
goes for at least Christmas or Easter.
Crazy how things we just assume that everybody knows that may not be. That could be a blind assumption, thinking that everybody knows a certain thing.
But as I tried to think about what other things,
right.
I had a really hard time trying to come up with stuff. I was like,
so what it is,
I can't blindly assume much about much, but
so don't forget about that. Like, and so the way I tried to do it in reverse, but it's still hard for me, and I didn't come up with a lot. Don't think about what other people don't know. Just think about what you know that you assume everybody else knows. Like, just think about, everybody knows this.
See, but I don't know if I even think that way anymore. But I'm gonna try, and I think in worst case scenario we'll have a great conversation.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, that always happens.
Let me see. I'm logging into my computer too, just to make sure I can see everything. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the my kids not knowing the story of Jesus and God? Where do you want to start with? What do you want to start with?
We can start there. We can start there.
All right. So I thought about it that night, and I was like, I really don't know if my kids know the story of Jesus or the story of Jesus and God or like any of that stuff. I don't think that they do. And in my mind, I'm like, we don't go for Christmas. We don't go for Easter. We don't go like for New Year's. We don't go to church. Like,
but you don't think they would, like somebody at school?
They don't have friends. They're not social people. They're like they fuck with this.
Like even online, would you hear?
And that's what I asked. That's what I asked for clarification. Okay, I was like, I didn't know if maybe like in all of your anime adventures, because they watch some throat shit. I was like, I didn't know if like in any of your cartoon adventures where that topic is broached somewhere in the whatever. I was like, between all the Marvel movies and shit that we've seen, they're like, which Marvel movie talks about Jesus? And I was like, well, not like that. But I was like, the references to the characters, and they're like, my son was like, why would I know this? And I was like, that's what I thought. I was like, I said, Q and I were just talking about this last night. And I really didn't think that you guys knew him. So my older son, who is 17, like he was like, he's like, I think I know the basics, but he also had a girlfriend, and they were into a lot of non-traditional stuff, So, I mean, I know that he was probably put on a little bit. My youngest son, though, my 14-year-old, no fucking clue. No relationship, no idea who's who. Like, I don't know if it's ever considered what happens when we die or where did we come from.
But that's okay. So that goes. See, but that goes into that goes more to a faith belief system of what you believe in after. That can't be.
No, but that's all part of wondering, though. Like, why are we here? Who did we come from?
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
God person. Why did they talk about Jesus all the time?
Okay, let me ask you. Can you give me a 30-second rundown of the story of Jesus?
Okay. Isn't Jesus God's son?
No, isn't. Just tell me what the story is.
I think Jesus is God's son. And something, he died for people's sins, so you can live a certain way. He died for you to live, a sinful way or whatever, died for your sins. And he's supposed to come back and get you, like if you live your life according to like his doctrine. So you should live properly. So I'll come get you when I come back. And that's what everybody's fighting for. So that's what all the wars are about. Like, that's what all the fights about. That's what everything's about. This idea that somebody is or isn't just going to magically come back and save only the people that are dutiful to this person. Like, Oh no, because those that are supposed to be dutiful who swear that they are not always the most dutiful people. So it's hard to believe in the concept, but that's what I understand of the story of Jesus so
Okay.
far.
See, and
That's
that's funny because even the way you mentioned the story, you more so intertwine the hope and the eternity aspect of it. And when I think of the story of Jesus, then I don't I don't dig into that part of it. Like if I was just explaining, somebody tell me the story
But
of Jesus.
you should, as somebody, in my opinion, as a
Right.
scientist or as an educationalist, as a teacher, as a like, I would think that you would want to know
Well,
the
no, okay.
origins of anything that I am going to subscribe to, believe in, promote, like, and that for me is where I have the hardest fucking part. Since I have a hard time with the origin, the rest for me is like, oh. But
So okay, so I say it like this. So there's a lot of Jews or Jewish people who don't believe in the resurrection, or historians or professors who I also listen to as well. They will talk about the story of Jesus from a purely historic perspective.
okay, so
So
tell me,
based upon
so tell me the accurate version then, because you
it's not,
obviously.
I'm not saying that, no, I'm not saying that you're not accurate. I'm just saying like
So
a
is
lot of
there a
things that you
resurrection or
said is
no? How can why? So the resurrection meaning he died and then he like what 3 days later he resurrected. That was what Easter supposedly.
right. Yeah, that's part of it.
Which okay Easter that was.
But what I'm saying is the historical part of it is the reason it's historical is because that's what's written, whether you believe it or not. That's what was written
Okay, that's
about
what's written
him in
down in the
that
book.
time.
Okay, that's what's written.
Now, there's
Okay.
other things where people project that's not necessarily written that I wouldn't include in the story. So I'm thinking about the historical. So the historical part would be started with Mary, Joseph, that they were betrothed to be married. They were not yet married, so he had not had sex with her, but she was told by an angel. An angel came down, told her that she was going to give birth to the Son of God. And then the angel also told Joseph, hey, fear not, because back in that day, if the woman that was supposed to be your wife was already pregnant, then that was bad stuff could really happen. So he's like, hey, told Mary, you're gonna give birth to the Son of God. Also told Joseph, don't trip. This is what's going on. And once they knew that, then there was another king in the land who also heard of this Messiah, which was also prophesied in the Old Testament back then. And since he didn't want that to happen, he created a census and he had the firstborn um, killed from every family. So they were going around killing kids, just
Who is
trying to
that?
make sure that they. What's that?
Who ordered that?
One of the kings. I can't remember which
Ordered the
king it was.
firstborn of every family be the child be killed?
Right.
What was that? I've got to know who that was. What was that purpose? Okay,
Uh,
okay,
I'm not
okay.
sure if I
Yeah, so
remember
I know
everything.
there's a million more bits and pieces to a very,
Right.
I
But
guess, maybe
it was
complex.
just like, okay, so then that's when they left. Well, they had to come back to do the census, and then they were kind of hiding away to keep them away from the king who wanted to say, we want to worship with the child too. Basically, he was trying to find out who this person was so that they can kill him. Um, and the baby was born in the manger, no rooms in the inn. Three wise men who also heard and wanted to confirm prophecy came, and which historically they say it was probably more than three wise men. It was probably a whole group of people. But Jesus grew up as a boy. Um, Lived kind of a regular life, even though he still wasn't regular. He'd do some irregular stuff at times, but he'd be teaching. He'd be sitting in the synagogues listening to the teachers. And ultimately, most of his childhood was pretty uneventful, with a couple exceptions of they couldn't find him sometimes, and then they find him in the synagogue, and he'd be like, "Hey, I got to be about my father's business." He'd be saying a little strange stuff here and there, talking, preparing himself for it, but his ministry, the actual recorded part of what he did and his miracles and all that was only for a few years. So the large portion of his early life was not really documented. So he got baptized by John the Baptist, and he got disciples, got told people about the Jesus, the Son of God. I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but that's really what it was. He developed followership. He did miracles. Ultimately, the Pharisees and people said it's blasphemy for you to even compare yourself or say that you're the Son of God or say anything like that. And they ultimately had him killed. Even before that, he predicted that was going to happen. And he was like, well, this temple will be raised in 3 days and so forth. So, and that's where he died. He was crucified, all of that stuff.
So where's the sin? Where the died for your sins come into play? Where's that happen at? So he didn't die for people's sins?
No. I'm thinking of biblically where he said he died for your sins. Yehukanan, jump in. I don't know if you can throw like biblically. I'm asking like biblically, where does it talk about he died for your sins of the whole world?
It doesn't talk about him dying for your sins.
Because that's more of a Paul thing, if I'm correct. Like Paul spoke about that, but Jesus himself wasn't really talking about
his ministry was primarily trying to reconcile the lost tribes of Israel, in particular the 10 lost tribes, because there was a split of the tribes during the time of David. I think after David died, his son mistreated some of the people, and then so certain people in Israel wasn't feeling it, and they was like, we're gonna go our own direction, and we're gonna be over here with it. So a lot of history, but I'm not going to go into the details of it. I'm just going to summarize to give a quick synopsis. So his ministry was primarily for the children of Israel to reconcile back to the covenant that was broken at the time of Mount Sinai with Moses. So he died for the sins of the children of Israel. Now, in regards to Paul, it kind of expanded. So it's kind of like I like to use this analogy. It's kind of like an earthquake. So how they identify the earthquake is they find the epicenter, right? So the epicenter is basically this pulse that sends out a shock waves. So let's say, for example, if there's an earthquake in Austin, people will probably be able to feel it in Houston or San Antonio or close to Dallas. So basically, in retrospect, Paul carried on the message as far as like, okay, if you're gonna enter into this covenant, you can too be there can too be repentance for your sins as well. And there's a change in the lifestyle that follows that. It can't just be you ask for forgiveness for your sins and then you keep repenting the same sin over and over again. It just becomes redundant, and it makes the sacrifice, or not the sacrifice, I should say. I'm not going to say that. It makes the Messiah dying for the sins of the people, for not, or even Paul that carried on the message as far as like what that entails, was for naught. But there's just a lot of things to unpack with that. I'll just leave it there because I can go on and on. I don't want to be long-winded.
I'm trying to like say if you were trying to tell it to a 12-year-old, I'm trying to keep it simple as possible. But John Downer said something about none of this is historically accurate.
Which part?
John, what I'll say is what we're talking about as far as historical, we're just talking about that which was, whether you believe it or not, it don't matter. It was something that was documented in text. That's what we're talking about. The history of it is as far as the documentation of it. Whether you believe it or not, that's up to you.
Can that person come in? Because if he says the story inaccurate,
well, he said historically go ahead.
Yes, historically inaccurate. I don't think that's true because you got to consider many factors. in regards to the Bible. The Bible is not an end all be all ordeal. Cruel
Right.
Criticism and things of that nature. You know, as far as like, you know, what the culture was like in that region, or the audience that, you know, Paul or the disciples were addressing
Right.
at that time. You know, what was going on in that region.
Okay.
And, you know, once you begin to unpack a lot of those things, and also
Oh shoot, you freezing up a little bit.
Yeah, it might be.
opens
Okay.
up.
Hold on.
What's up? What's up? Am I cutting out?
You freezing. Yeah, you freezing up a little bit.
All right, my bad. I'll end it right there. Go ahead.
Okay, no, it's cool. You got the gist of it, John. All I'm saying is just historical as far as it's written text. So just like the Bible is something written, Mark Twain, whether you writing fiction or nonfiction, it's historical as from the standpoint that it's something that's been written. Whether you believe it or not is one thing or another, but we're just talking about the historical elements of it as far as this is what's written, so this is how I would explain it to someone who hasn't heard the story. That's all we're saying, John, but feel free to jump in and kind of elaborate what you're talking about with what you're saying, or you can keep commenting. Nikki, what you want to follow up with?
If Denise or Ivory has anything to add to, I don't know how much you guys heard or when y'all jumped in. The whole conversation, well, part of this was a conversation from 2 weeks ago when Q just assumed that like everybody for the most part knew the story of Jesus, and I was like, I don't think my kids do. So they didn't. But so Q asked me what my understanding is of the version of the story. So I was given my version, and I think I did like the Hollywood version, right? And
no, you
so that I was asking for like the more properly documented version, right? And we got caught up on one of my assumptions, right, was that he died for sins, and that was the whole thing, right? Like you had to live, and it shouldn't be sinful, and then he's gonna come back and get you type shit. So you're supposed to live right, and so they can come back and get you. And then Q, I think, mentioned that he doesn't believe that it was actually said that he died for a person's sins, for your sins.
Well, I'm actually thinking about what Jesus said. There's a lot in the Bible in the New Testament that didn't directly come out of Jesus' mouth. For instance, Jesus never called himself a Christian. Certain stuff like that. So I'm not going to say
dying
that
for your sins is a huge part of dying for your sins is a large part of the package of Christianity for somebody like me who is not familiar with Christianity, right?
Right, that's a good one.
So that's a large package of it for me too.
It's a very large package. I'm today years old when I learned that it might not have actually been part of the original package deal.
So that goes back to the John 3:16. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, whosoever believe in him should not perish. But even then, that's John. Yeah. That's John saying that, and not Jesus actually saying that. So I was trying to stick to, when I said the story of Jesus, I was trying to stick to the actual story of Jesus versus what other people say about him. Right, exactly. Or just his life. Yeah, exactly.
Well, so again,
you're not wrong. You wasn't wrong with what you were saying.
No, I'm so that's where we are. And Yehukanah was kind of giving his feedback. I kind of asked him the same thing. And so I don't know, maybe if you ladies have anything you want to add to that, I'm not sure. But like I said, I'm today years old when I learned that. So in just, I guess, understanding the story of Jesus, right? Or what is the assumed story that most people would just know, especially in this country, right? Like where do you guys fall on that?
I was just gonna quickly say I'm not getting in these weeds for real with y'all, but
but you jumped in, no.
No, I was just gonna say
redirect.
It can be the scriptures where Jesus is saying, I'm the way, the truth, and the life,
right,
no man comes to the Father but by me,
right?
And then it leaves later people to interpret what does it mean by no man comes to the Father but by me. So taking Jesus' words and then trying to explain to others what it means that you can't come to the Father but by him. So I would say those scriptures are where you get the basis of him being our path to God through the forgiveness of sin. So that was just my 2 cents. I ain't getting all up in it.
Thank you.
She gonna get in it. Don't believe her.
Okay, so this is my interpretation, because Nikki, I'm with you. I thought the whole thing was about that. And I grew up Christian, and I was in church on Sundays till the evening. So
and Wednesdays and Tuesdays and Mondays.
Okay. So my interpretation is, prior to Jesus being born and laying down his life, right? Because if you're the son of God, that means you can get out of anything. Like, dude literally was walking on water, so you can't tell me he couldn't like levitate into a place. Like, he didn't have to get on the cross. So this is a choice, right? So from my understanding, prior to that choice, people, if they wanted to be forgiven or communicate with God, it was like you had to do all these rituals. Like, you had to like sacrifice. You had to literally go find the animal, bring it to an altar, do a whole thing. And like in some cases, like I remember in y'all can remind me if y'all know where this part of the scripture is, but there's like some part in the Bible where it was so like I'm just going to say it in the way I would say it. God was being so mean, and he was so fed up with us that literally there would be like, you had to be so holy to go into the church. They would wrap like a freaking rope around somebody, because if they weren't holy enough and they went into this place, they would literally die, and people had to pull them out of the church or wherever. Is this correct? This
yes, the tabernacle.
It was the priest, not
it's the tabernacle, the temple, and it was the priest.
The priest was Mm-hmm.
But there's a reason for that.
So
okay,
this is all be sizzle before Christ. So Christ came and was like, look, y'all cutting up, y'all know what y'all doing, y'all out here wilding, and God is sick of y'all. And I've been advocating for y'all. So now I got to come down and show you how to live a holy life to prove to you that it can be done, because y'all out here wilding. And he want to just wipe y'all out again. I mean, that's what happened with Noah's situation. He was like, it's only about 10 of y'all. That's all right. I got to go kill everybody else. Look, save a couple of animals because I'm done with them. Get them out of here. He was trying to destroy the earth when he's tired of us. He's tired of us now. That's why we're going through climate change. Anyway, so...
Well, not really, but
I know, but you know, in the context of this whole thing.
She sounds like she about to roll on the river, like Tina Turner, real quick.
So he's sick of us, right? So Jesus come down and is like, bro, please just let my brothers and sisters, like, let me save them, like, please. So he go down in the manger. First thing they do is they heard Jesus was there. Kill all the newborn sons. Get them out of here. Kill all the newborn sons. We ain't having that. He survives that, right? Then like the wise men come to see him when he's first born, and they bless him, and they like boom, boom, bam, you know, whoopty, whoopty, woo. Here's the frankincense. I'm not sure what that means and back in the days with that. Here's the myrrh. I'm not sure what that meant back then, but we be using oils now, but they be trying to act like it's weird. Anyway, so
how about that?
Frankincense, hit him with the myrrh. He ends up growing up. His stepdaddy is holding down the fort. Now, you know, if you had a stepdaddy experience, you had a bad stepdaddy experience, ain't no stepdaddy going for that. On top of the fact that she was like, yeah, God had got me pregnant. So that's what Mary had told her man, Joseph. God had got me pregnant. I was not messing around with you. But he was such a noble dude. I don't know if you ever watched Game of Thrones. He was like a Ned Stark. He was just such an honorable guy that, like, he just went with it.
Nobody interrupt. We're going to make a clip out of this. Keep going.
The honorable Ned Stark, that was Joseph the carpenter. So he showed Jesus how to get his carpet on, because he's like, you gonna be my stepson. This is what we do in this household. We carpenters. So he showed him how to do the thing. And then Jesus started getting like superpowers. He was like an X-Men, and like stuff would be happening. And his family be like, bro, you can't really just be turning water into wine. Like you can, but you shouldn't necessarily do that. But I feel you use your powers. So Jesus was doing all these miracles and all that. And then people started being like, oh, shoot, Jesus, like he's that guy. And he was just going around collecting fans, basically. And he was just going around doing miracles. He was like, Lazarus, get your ass up. You ain't dead no more. I mean, it was all kind of things happening, right? So boom, they still didn't believe he was the Son of God. They was like, no, he's not the Son of God. So this cat had to die and come back to life just to prove he was the Son of God. And he was also doing it because he was like, I know y'all tired of sacrificing goats and finding a ram in the bushel because God almost told you to sacrifice your son to see if you was really about that life. I know y'all getting tired of this. That really happened. That's a story in the Bible. God told somebody to go sacrifice their son. They was going to go sacrifice their son. They had it here. They was about to bring it down on their son. And then there was a ram in the bush. That's where that whole saying, ram in the bush, came from.
Hey, so somebody to be in the same place as Nikki, you sure is saying a lot.
So basically,
but her version is the version that I'm familiar with. So it's like, yeah.
He died for our sins. He died so we didn't have to do all the rituals and all that, and to show that like you can live a Christian or a good, clean life as God would observe it, and to also like kind of get God off our back. Because then I'm assuming this ain't in the Bible. Jesus probably went back and like, yo, it was kind of hard being a human, bro. Like, you got to take it easy on that. He was just advocating for us. That's all this really is. Just big old, he was advocating for us humans. That's my story. That's all I know.
I like it. Thank you for that story.
That's your story. You sticking to it? That's an OG call.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I like it. I like it. So, okay. So before we get, because I see where this is probably going to go if we allow it to go. I don't want to go into a theological debate.
No, we can go anywhere.
I wanted to stay on the assumption part. I mean, maybe you don't know, because if everyone feels they know the story, then it's hard for you to say. But what percentage of people would you say don't know the story of Christ, at least in America? Somebody give me your thoughts about like what percentage of people wouldn't recognize that story that I told or Denise told or Yehukanan told?
I'll say about 25-30%.
Dang, that's a high percent. Okay. But in today's day,
higher than that. I say higher.
You think higher than that?
Really? You said don't know. So 25-30%.
Okay.
I'm gonna say, you know what? You know why? Because this is my assumption. This is my blind assumption about the younger generation. Like, I don't think that they're as religious. I think religion is kind of a dying idea to the younger generation, and I don't think they're as religious as us. So I don't think they really follow these stories and things like that. It's like less important. And then you have a whole nother group that there are other groups that have their own religion. Like, I barely know details for other religions. Like, I really don't know much of anything about. I know little stuff, but so I can believe that probably like 50 to 60% probably don't know the story.
Can I
elaborate on my percentages?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let me say real quick, Yehukanan. My thought is, even the people who are not religious or church, I still thought that they still know. Even the unchurched or religious people, either you go to church for Easter once a year, or you hear someone talk about it somewhere online. Like, at some point, I still thought everybody knows. So that's the difference where I thought it would be a lower percentage. But go ahead, Yehukanan.
Yeah, the reason why I say 25-30%, because they're the top three well-renowned religions in the world is Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Mm-hmm. And all three of those contain the biblical characters that people are familiar with. So at one point or another, a good probably 75, 80% of individuals in this country has ran across, the Messiah at one point or another. If it's through family members or parents, cousins, whatever. The story is out there, and people have heard of it at some point. It's just become to, I guess people just come to the realization that a lot of the stuff that's being taught is basically, I would say, for lack of a better term, garbage. Or they tired of hearing the same old rhetoric and nothing's getting done, so they go on another route with it. Or they experienced it at some point and be like, yo, this ain't for me. I got to go try another spiritual journey. And then they go through life going through all of these spiritual journeys, and then they found one day that they were comfortable with. So the point of that is, the reason why I say that is because those top three religions in the world, at one person's life at one point or another, either heard the story or knew about it. They just chose at a certain point in their life to go a different direction or a different path, because either they got burned or whatever reasons that a person has decided to go a different direction. But that's why I say 25 to 30%, because a lot of people have heard. What's up?
That's two different things, though. So even what you're talking about actually subscribes to my point, because I agree with you on that. There's a lot, like most of the atheists that I've spoken to, they came from a religious background at some point in time, and they said, no, that's not for me, I don't believe it. But saying I don't believe it, that's not for me, is not the same as saying I've never heard of the story. They're saying I've heard the story and I reject the story, or I reject the religion.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that they don't believe. I'm saying that they heard it at one, like I said, they ran across their path at one form or another.
Okay, so that's not the same thing as what we're talking about. Yeah. We were talking about like the assumption. My assumption is that everyone knows the story.
That's why I said 25, 30%. But I'm giving you the reason why I said 25, 30%.
Well, but that doesn't answer the question.
How so?
Right.
Because how many people do you, regardless of what they believe, how many people don't know a story?
Right.
25 to 30% that don't know a story is a lot. But 25 to 30% that may not believe in the story is a different question.
Right. It's two different things. Right.
Because I think it's a very small percentage of people that don't know the story, because there's so many ways to access, I think, the information in this country anyways. Like, I think that religion is
so your percentage will be lower?
Yeah, religion is so easily accessible, and so it's like the prescription of, like, America, that you're just going to be exposed whether you go for Christmas or Easter, and maybe it's the only 2 days of the year that you go those 2 times, so you are exposed to the story, as opposed to people who just, like my children, who've never been.
So would you say less than 5%?
Yeah, I'd probably say it's a small percentage, a very small percentage. I just don't know nothing at all.
See, and I started with the assumption that everybody knows it, so my percentage is going to be super low, almost close to 1%. Because
what's your percentage then?
I was going to say 20.
Yeah, because I assumed,
you think 20%?
My assumption was that everybody knew it. That was my blind assumption.
Right. This is what the reason I say 20 is this. Even I would say a lot of people aren't going to their mom and pop churches anymore. Mm-hmm. People are like kind of crowding in bigger churches and stuff now, and a lot of them don't tell the story anymore. If you think about it, be honest. Are all churches still, even on Easter and other times, going?
They do on Easter. I think Easter is the only day that they really talk about the story.
I've seen Easter services. They still don't talk about the story of Jesus. It's still a good motivational speech.
So that's why I tell people all the time, Easter is my least favorite Sunday of the. If I go to church every Sunday, Easter will probably be the Sunday I don't go to church. I don't, because it's like y'all preaching to the choir. I'm here all the time, and y'all trying to tell the story to people who may not have heard about it.
But this is what I'm saying. In recent years, people still are doing more neutral messages that they think are more appealing. And I don't hear a lot of people just telling the story of Jesus at church anymore. So I think you could visit a church once or twice a year and still not even hear the story of Jesus.
That's good.
Okay,
yeah, that's
so
not giving that good old fashioned breakdown.
Time out real quick, everyone. If we have time, we'll get back to this. If anybody know me, not my pet peeve, but my main objective whenever we're doing shows is to thoroughly examine the topic. So if we stay on this too long, then we're not really gonna get to the wide, broad topic of blind assumptions. Sure. So let me ask a couple more questions, even in the church or Bible area, and say, y'all tell me how much this is an assumption that I have. The Adam and Eve story. Everybody know. Everybody kind of. Even if they falsely talk about an apple when there wasn't no apple there, but I mean,
surrounding that. Sheesh. Go ahead, bro. Saying,
still, even though people got different variations, like Denise definitely had a different variation of the Jesus story than I did. Well, not even a different variation. She highlighted different parts that I may not have. People still have a basic knowledge of that story. So do you believe pretty much everyone is aware of the Adam and Eve story? Somebody give me some feedback on that.
No.
Really? Okay.
I would say most people.
Ask the question again.
The Adam and Eve story. Would you say generally everybody has heard that story before?
Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah, I think there's less people that know the Adam and Eve story than even know the Jesus story. Like, I damn sure couldn't fucking tell you. Yeah, for sure. Because Adam and Eve is like, okay, well, if Jesus was God's son and God was the first person and then Jesus was his son, but Adam was supposed to be the first man, and then this girl came along and then they like, but who's the first and then who's the first, but who's like,
so if someone said who was the first man and woman, what percentage of people would say Adam and Eve?
No, I was actually trying to find this post that I shared earlier today.
No, I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. No, well, check this out.
I know less. All I know is somebody bit the apple and they weren't supposed to bite the fucking apple, right? Like, and then they died, but it was supposed to be the woman's fault or some shit. Like, I think or thought. I don't remember.
Yo, Nikki.
Well,
Nikki,
that's half of the story, Nikki. That's really half of the story right there. You got a basic gist of it right there.
Okay.
Nikki, I'm gonna create a stem from your point. When you mentioned about Adam, because I didn't even know this until recently. Like, you have those out there that are pre-Adamites, which means that they believe that Adam is not the first man. That there were human beings that existed before Adam.
I've heard that term before, pre-Adam. I've heard that.
Yeah, but that's why I say you open up a can of worms, because I've heard all kinds of Adam variations. One of those is people believe. Okay, well, she didn't, but the point is that
follow what I'm saying real quick.
What's up?
So even for someone who have a pre-Adamite theory, you are aware of the Adamite theory. People know the story of it to even refute it. To even say, no, there's other people, there's existence before Adam, and I'm kind of one of those people as well, if you just look from pure historical perspective. But I'm just saying, to reject the Adamite story, you have to be aware of the story in order to reject it. So that's a person that qualifies as knowing the story of Adam and Eve.
No, out of respect for your question, I want to stay on to the topic. That's why I said STEM. Because she said something that sparked that thought. That's why I wanted to bring that part out. But I want to stick out of respect, stick to the question that you asked.
Sure, and that's what I'm saying. Even with the question, that still acknowledges that someone who has a pre-Adamite theory has a basic understanding of the Adam and Eve story. That's a person that's in the know area. Your belief of it
does not discount you from knowing the story. You got the Inky and Enlil story. if you get Smack in here, I'm pretty sure he'll have a version on that.
It's this.
But that's still the understanding of the
even
concept
if you have an alternate theory as to what actually.
Yeah, that's still the concept of A, as opposed to people who don't even never heard the concept of an Adam and Eve story, of any variation of Adam and Eve story. So I think it's less. I think it's less.
Well, that will be the point of me bringing it up, because people can believe that, you know, that the Adam and Eve story was plagiarized off for whatever they believe. Like,
right, but they still have to know the story to. They have to know the story to come to the conclusion that it's not accurate. They can't just say it's not true, and they've never heard what the story is to say it isn't true. They have to have some people they have to have the story to decide. I don't believe that that's accurate.
Right. But you have people that do believe that, like, you know, as far as the Enki Elil story to be accurate and the existence of Adam not to be accurate. You do have people that believe that.
Right, but that also means
a person who's never heard of the story would say, I don't know if it's accurate or not because I've never heard the story. For you to have a decision about the story means that you've heard the story, which leads to what we're saying. Everyone has heard this, the blind assumption that we may have that everyone's heard the story.
Yeah, I think the point they're making, you Huguenot, is not that it's not about whether they believe or don't believe. It's about the fact that have they heard of it? Have they even heard it at all?
The concept of right.
I think.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think less people have heard this story probably than the Jesus story.
They make commercials about the Adam and Eve and the apple, and like it's such a okay. Dang, that's interesting. I would think more people have a basic understanding of the Adam and Eve story than they do even the Jesus story.
You know what? You do make a good point. It was such like a pop culture reference at points in time.
But is it today? Do my children, you know, like is what my children exposed to, me and Q's kids exposed to, like, are they seeing the same stuff that we saw?
80s, I think 90s down, it was like a very much like pop culture kind of thing.
And it's much more of a simple story. Man, woman, born, you got the garden. Hey, this is your garden, tend to it, have everything, just don't touch this tree. Eve, and then the snake, everybody knows about the snake. The snake says, oh yeah, you can have this tree, this and this and that. Eve eat the apple. Then Adam, she give it to Adam, he eat the apple. Then they know they naked. Now there's different punishments that come along with it.
Why do you say there's an apple when the Bible doesn't mention that?
But you are 100% correct. That's how they portray it. Everyone will say apple, and I know it's not an apple.
So where's the apple come from? Where, like, what
it's just the most identifiable fruit that
people just be making stuff up.
Just make up.
Yeah. So there was a
fruit, which they say they
if that's forbidden, and the apple's not forbidden to eat.
It never speaks. It never speaks of the exact fruit. Some people.
But there was a forbidden fruit.
It's that forbidden fruit.
Forbidden fruit.
Right.
Okay.
Right, but you don't know what it is.
Y'all.
We don't know. Nobody knows.
The same thing with Jonah and the whale. Like, it doesn't actually say whale. It's like big fish. We
just big fish.
Assume
like, what's
a whale.
What's a fish big enough to swallow a human? Like, okay, a whale.
Y'all.
Go ahead, Denise.
I ain't know with no apple. That's number one. And
really? Okay.
No, I didn't know that. And then also, like, now that I'm thinking of it, I do think people know the story, but I don't think people know the story as it is a Bible story. I think it's just like a folklore that people just, I think it's more that than it is a Bible story for people.
Well, the only record of the story is in the Bible, so it's still got to be a Bible story.
Right, but that's not necessarily how people heard it. They didn't.
That's not their introduction to.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Right. Yeah.
So how do you think that one would be introduced to Adam and Eve if it wasn't through the lens of first people created by God or whatever? Like, how else do you think somebody would get
pop culture, commercials?
Yeah,
like it's a lot of it's kind of.
Okay. Hey, to add to that, I was watching a segment or a soundbite where it was talking about using the Adam and Eve concept and how it was talking about like TV shows. Like a lot of TV shows use the Adam and Eve concept to bring that story, passed down from generation to generation. Because that's a lot of the times how stories back in the day got passed down. That it got passed down through storytelling, or word of mouth, or even through a song. So it was just talking about how a lot of the shows uses that concept, the Adam and Eve concept, that was there since the beginning. That many believe were the first man and woman on the earth. So you do have that I'll say angle to come from in regards to what's being discussed right now.
I think it's more like a cautionary tale than it is anything. You know what I mean? Like,
I think folklore was a good way to put it. Interestingly enough.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Right. Okay.
Before we jump off the Bible, let me throw one quick one out there because we're getting short on time. Okay. The story of Noah. Is that a commonly known story? That seems very common to you.
We should have done the ark, but yeah, go ahead. Story of Noah.
Noah and Ark. That's what it is. Noah and Ark.
Oh,
that's
Ark.
commonly known.
Yeah, I think it's a widely renowned story.
I think it's
Noah's Ark.
It's a legendary story, like the splitting of the Red Sea.
I think it's less known. I think Noah's Ark is
that's the most commonly known story.
I feel like yes.
Less known than the story of Jesus and Adam and Eve?
For sure.
No, I don't think so.
I do. I feel like
they're all equally known. I think those two.
It's up there. It's up there.
Think about how many movies and television things make reference to a Noah's Ark type of event, or catastrophe, or 2 men, 2 women, 2 animals.
Okay, hold on. Time out. Nikki, time out real quick, Nikki. In 30 seconds. Okay. Tell me the story of Noah as you know it. Noah's Noah Ark. 30 seconds. Tell me,
give their fucking version.
That's
perfect because it gives an example of the easiest.
Somebody who doesn't have a real I don't have a biased opinion. The story of Noah was that God was sick of everybody, right? So this was one of those times where God was fucking sick of everybody and was going to get rid of totally Thanos to everybody. And instead, Noah, for whatever reason, got to pick 2 and 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 2, which makes no sense whatsoever. But they got on the boat and it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. And then eventually, top of a mountain, and they sent out the bird, and then we had land. So the way I tell it,
that's the story. That's the story. That's hilarious. We're going to take a clip of that.
It doesn't help the way that I feel about it, because it just doesn't seem very realistic when you tell it back. But I feel like everybody knows a version of that. I feel like way more people know a version of that than Adam and Eve than maybe God or Jesus. I feel like how many movies have been made off of that concept. So I just feel sci-fi things and anime stuff and cartoon related things. Like, I just feel like that is a way more common. That's the most common story I've read in the Bible, I think.
And I think I agree with that. Yeah.
You think that's the most common story in the Bible?
Okay. I think it's the most. It just the story that
widely known
people would know out of all the stories in the Bible. If I asked them, tell me the story about this, they'd be able to explain that story better than any other story in the Bible.
Okay.
Really?
So interesting. Yeah. So before we jump away from this, I know, hey John, I'm glad you jumped on, sir.
Yeah,
and I saw you had comments in there, whatever like that. So before we jump off of this topic, then I wanted to the opportunity, jump in, give us some of your input based off of some of the stuff that we were saying, and let's go from there.
How's everybody doing? My name's John.
Hey John, how are you?
How you doing, sir? Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you.
Problem. I've been waiting on something like this because I've been indulging and learning and researching a lot within the the oracle text of religion here lately. I grew up in the church. I grew up as a Christian, and I veered away from that maybe 25, 30 years ago, to where I wasn't really calling myself a Christian anymore. Because as I became an adult, the teachings and what I've seen and what I've been learning just wasn't adding up. And it's very ironic that you was talking about the Jesus story and the Jesus beliefs, and and where that stood. And I was much like the young lady was saying that, if God has given him that much power over us, that why would he give his life just so easily, during that time? And I don't think that, one man could have died and now we're sinless, because we see in today's world there's sins going on every day. So I don't see where the two could have added up to where he died for our sins if we still remain to commit sins and be held for them. So there's a lot of contradiction for us to solely give our belief into something that's written. That's why I kept saying it's not historically, because of how it was written. Because from the Old Testament to the New Testament. Because in the New Testament, why would we have to go back and revert to the Old Testament? To in reference what if it's already have been said and given by law.
Okay.
That's my concept. But I'm gonna continue to listen. I just want to give
you. No, thank you for your input, sir. I appreciate that. And what I was responding to you, I wasn't saying that it was factual. I was saying historical from the standpoint that it was documented in a period of time that was before us that makes it historical. Just like Mark Twain or Aristotle, or whatever it is, anybody who writes something and it can be verified that it was written at this specific point in history makes it historical, not if we believe the validity of it or not. That's all I was saying. But yeah, I see what you're saying, sir. Okay, well, thank you for that. Hold on, let me see what Stephanie's. How did the animals not eat one another? It was divine. The spirit of the Lord was on the ark and made everybody operate in peace the same way.
It is
Daniel was in the lion's den, and the lions did not consume him. The same way the little boy fell in the pit in the zoo and the gorilla didn't kill him. The spirit of the Lord. Anyway.
But a lot of people don't realize. What a lot of people don't realize is that animals has a lot more intelligence than we think, as far as comprehension on certain things or emotion or feeling. So, I'm just saying they you have a lot of animals out there that are very intelligent, not stupid, very smart, that is able to comprehend what the heck is going on.
Right.
I think too, back in those days, I believe I think more people probably assumed that animals could communicate, and we knew how to communicate with them. And now we don't.
Don't open up that floodgate.
They can't.
Yeah, don't.
Don't open up that floodgate.
That animals could communicate. Of course, I mean, they communicate now.
Exactly. It's just it's just our perception of their intelligence is different now than
never mind.
Let me say something real quick. If y'all ever watched one of the older Star Trek movies where it was an alien life form, I don't remember all the specifics of it, but the aliens, they didn't come back to deal with us. They came back to communicate with the whales. Because the whales have been here way longer than we have, and just because we didn't know how to communicate with whales, that don't mean that they're unintelligent. That don't mean that, you know, and think about that. The earth is 75-80% water. So if an alien form came down, why would we automatically assume that they're going to try to communicate with us versus the species or the being that's been here millions of years longer than we have?
That holds way more information.
We think we're so amazing.
Right. Meanwhile, we occupy the smallest,
tiniest
portion of the earth itself. And we've been here for the least amount of time. You know what I'm saying? Whales have been here way longer than us. But just because we can't communicate with them, we assume that they are inferior to us.
Okay.
Hey, Denise. Mm-hmm. I have a piece of literature that talks about what you said, and you wouldn't believe me if I read it to you.
Send me the name of it.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't have your information. Are we friends? I don't have your information, but I can send it to you.
We're not friends on Facebook.
You know how to catch her. Go to Amani.
I'll befriend you. I thought we were friends on Facebook already.
I gotta check my list unless you unfriended me.
Just send her the link when you're buying her album.
that part.
Your album right up here on my wall right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, you did get the vinyl.
I gotta take a listen. Is it on Spotify?
Yeah.
You on Spotify?
It's everywhere. Hello. You know what? You was doing the song at the
Rolling. That's my shit. Rolling is my shit.
Hello is my song. So after you finish Hello, some random girl came up to me because she saw me just singing with all my heart and all my might. And she was like, "Oh, excuse me, I need that song. Where can I find the song at?" So I showed her where to go to on it. She was like, "Oh yes, that's got to be a part of my rotation." I was like, "Yeah, that's all right. I already know."
He's putting your soul into it.
I would put my soul. I was singing. So you know what? I actually was videotaping it, and I was gonna like put it on Facebook, but I was singing so hard and off key. I'm like, I ain't gonna. You can't even hear her singing over me singing all crazy. I'm like, I'm just keep this to myself.
I love the same exact way at concerts. I be all off key, and I'm a singer.
John, you were about to say something, sir. We still on topic. Go ahead. What are you gonna say, John?
On the topic with the art and all the animals.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to throw a question out there. So if you was to get two animals of every kind and put them on a boat, how big do you think that boat would have been? Two animals. Now you got to also look now. You got sea creatures too. Now you got to think.
No, you don't need sea creatures. They can swim.
The sea creatures didn't get on the ark.
They can
swim stayed
already.
in the water.
The water ain't gonna affect the sea creatures.
Yeah, they stayed in the water.
And the birds can fly, so they just gotta keep them wings pedaling, or they can sit on top of the ark.
They got a perch somewhere.
Birds. You know how many birds was on top
of that ark somewhere
trying to take a rest.
And I think the birds was in there.
And you also said he could have communicated with the animals. Now, if a lion is hungry, what is his instinct going to tell him to do?
Eat.
Who's to say? I mean, I'm just throwing random stuff out there because I actually don't know. But like, who's to say human beings didn't disrupt the whole entire flow of how animals interact with each other?
We did.
We probably did.
We did.
What you mean we did? We doing that right now.
That's my point. Like we disrupted a lot of shit.
Right. But
I'm sorry.
Hold on a second. We John, finish your point, sir, so we can get the full portion of the question.
And I heard the young man say, we could have communicated with the animals to not eat each other, and I think that was just far-fetched to me. That if I put a lion and a tiger around a water buffalo at some point during that span. And what was it, 40 days and 40 nights? That
it actually wasn't, but go ahead.
Well, however long it was, but at some point, a carnivore is going to get hungry. Mm-hmm. You know, so if it was just 2, some species would not have survived that.
Right. And what do you mean it wasn't 40 days and 40 nights? That is also
you showed that too, a monkey wrench right there, brother. You got to pick that monkey wrench
right. So you always hear the 40 days and 40 nights. I'll go back and show you, because there was basically, I'm about to paraphrase, Noah sent out some type of bird to see if the bird came back, because if the
send out a dove, I believe.
Yes, if the earth was completely filled with water, then the bird wouldn't come back.
My bad, that's a raven. He sent out a raven.
He sent out something, and then basically when the bird came back, it indicated that the waters had not succeeded. Then it was another like 40 days, and then he sent it out again, and then it was another. It was about
no, it wasn't another 40 days, my brother. It was 7 days.
Okay.
7.
What was the total time, Yehukanan?
150 days.
Okay, exactly. What I just said was about a half a year.
That's a lot.
We're talking about after the flood, not during. Or no, sorry.
The waters had not succeeded till about you said the same thing I just said. 150 150 days. You
mentioned something that it didn't rain for 40 days and 40 nights. You mentioned something to that effect.
Okay, if I said that wrong, I was saying that the waters had not succeeded. So my point was they were in the ark longer than 40 days, like you said. Okay. So that's what
I can rock with you on that one. I can rock with you on that.
The point I was making, I didn't say it right, but you are right. Thank you for
Q, I thought you were like, it was raining for 92 days. I was like, wait a minute, 40 days?
No. Okay, so what I'm saying is they were in the ark longer than 40 days.
Right.
And people just assume that they were in the ark 40 days.
I can rock with you on that one. I can rock with you on that one.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate
it. It came out wrong, but I got you.
Right. And I always I lean, because I know you know what you're talking about, so I don't just I know I probably said something off if you say something different.
I was just like, man, I'm learning so many first new things tonight. I was like, okay, that's still right. 40 and 40, like that's still accurate.
Right. Even just the raining, they were in the ark longer. They were in the ark much longer than 40 days.
Sure.
Yeah,
got you. Yeah, that whole story just didn't ever make sense to me either. But yes,
you gotta believe in miracles, man. You believe in miracles?
I don't believe in. Well, I don't believe in miracles. I mean, because miraculous shit does happen to people sometimes, but I don't believe that it's a God thing in every case. And I don't believe that all magic is fake either. So there's a lot of parts to how magical stuff happens. We talk about frequencies, we talk about animal communication, we talk about just different vibrations, and a lot of things can be explained. So miracles, I guess it just depends on, it's a case by case situation. But I don't think that most of those stories make much sense to me.
Right. Okay. So, all
but
right.
Have heard them.
The last 20 minutes, let me get off of the whole biblical part, because the topic is blind assumptions. So if anyone has any other blind assumptions, we're going to jump into that. This is a simple blind assumption that I have. I assume that everyone knows the Pledge of Allegiance. Would I be correct in that assumption?
Everyone as in who? Americans?
Yes, Americans. I wouldn't expect other people outside of America. But yeah, all
Americans or people who live in America?
Americans. If you live in America, that don't make you an American.
I don't think
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Everybody knows that, right? I learned that when I was in kindergarten.
Unfortunately.
remember that from kindergarten, even though I don't recite it.
7 years ago.
They made me say it. Ain't that crazy? They made me say it so many times that I am years old, and I remember from the time I was in the. Really, I learned it and remembered, and it stuck with me from the time I was in the first grade.
Yeah,
they don't.
And I ain't really said it since then, but I still remember it.
What'd you say, John? They don't teach it what?
They don't teach that in school anymore.
See, ours you still have the pledge. And then in Texas, we have the Texas pledge.
Yeah, they got
Texas, y'all crazy in Texas.
So, like, I think this was after I was done with school, but I think my daughter was in school already, and they went from the Pledge of Allegiance to the fucking Texas Pledge of Allegiance. So we're like, are you seriously doing this? And definitely they are. So you pledge to the Texas flag and you pledge to the American flag in Texas public schools.
Oh wow!
Y'all crazy in Texas. So is that a fair assumption? Blind, everybody knows. Generally, everybody knows the Pledge of Allegiance.
When you say generally, you change it. You change it when you say generally. Everybody knows it.
Well, I wouldn't assume 100% knows, but I think
that's more of a percentage than not.
Well, not just more than not, like overwhelmingly in the upper 98, 99. For the purpose of a conversation, 98% of people knows, then we could say that's everybody, generally speaking.
Starting at what age?
Agree with you, sister.
Starting at the like I said, I learned it in the kindergarten, the first grade. From first grade up, everybody knows it.
Yeah, you're never going to forget it. Once they brainwash you to say it 5 days a week for 12 years out of your life.
Right.
Like when I was at my niece's graduation, we were at graduation like 3-4 weeks ago. As soon as they started saying it, I was like, oh, fuck, I remember this thing. And
How old is she?
Huh?
How old is she?
She just graduated high school. So class of 2024.
I want to know if these young kids know. I want to know if like 3rd grade down. I want to know if they know. Are they teaching it still in school?
No.
Let me find out. Hold on. Let me holler.
They not?
I'm curious. I'm asking if my nephew know. He don't like school though, so he.
You got me almost wanting. I'm about to make a phone call.
I feel like I ain't heard no kids sing the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hold on, I'm about to ask.
You're not gonna hear it because they're not gonna want to say it. They gotta say it when they at school. But
did you?
Hold
on, I'm about to ask Carter. All right, so my son, he just graduated 8th grade. He's going into 9th grade, so he's 14. Do you guys do the Pledge of Allegiance every day? Yeah. Y'all do the Pledge of Allegiance every day? Yeah. Do they make y'all stand for it? Not really. You don't have to stand?
Really?
Y'all have to put your hand on your heart when you say it?
I mean, my class doesn't really do it.
But they do it every day in the beginning of the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he knows it. He knows it then.
Okay.
Yeah, and y'all did the Texas one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
They'll do it. Wow.
So current 8th grade. Now I don't know about my son. He'd probably tell you I'm never there in the morning. I'm not there when they do those things. So he wouldn't know. But the other one's usually there on time. The other one not so much. But yeah, current 9th, 8th grade. So up through 8th grade, they still do the pledge every day.
Hold on a second, son. Yes. Do y'all have to do the Pledge of Allegiance every day at school? Oh, do you? You know, so I guess you know it if you do it every day. What about the Texas? Y'all do the Texas Pledge of Allegiance too?
And what grade is?
You said you stand up and you don't say anything.
Look, baby, you can sit down. It's all right. You ain't got to stand.
you said you stand up, but you don't say nothing.
Tell him I said so.
He's his father's child.
Okay, thank you, son. All right, bye.
So,
he said I stand up. He said I stand up, but I don't say anything.
Yeah.
How old is he? Like 13?
14. He gonna be a sophomore. Yeah, that's my child.
Okay.
Damn it. Yep.
Interesting.
So I think that it is common practice. I mean, that's part of the indoctrination of the American public school system is you gotta fucking get up there and say your words and pray to your flag and to your state's flag. And, I mean, I remember when it became the Texas Pledge of Allegiance, people were like, you can't be serious. Of fucking course, this is Texas. What do you expect? Right. But the fact that they can take the pledge and they can modify it to fit whatever fits your state, right? But
what? Oh, I don't know this. What is the Texas Pledge of Allegiance?
There's just a few places in it where it takes out like America and it
do any of
shoves
you
in
know it? Do
Texas.
any of you know it? Like, do you know it?
Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Texas.
I didn't go to school in Texas. I went to school.
I didn't either, so I don't know it at all.
Where
are you from?
Stopped doing the
from,
pledge
John?
in high school, though. I feel like by the time we hit high school, we weren't doing that.
Where are you from? Are you in Texas, John?
We were because we had credit. We had the news and stuff in the morning.
I'm in Florida.
Florida. Okay, that's what's up. Yes, sir. That's what's up.
It's not grandiose now. Don't get excited.
No, I'm excited that we got people. I love when we got people in California and Florida and New York and Illinois and we Georgia. We worldwide. That's what I like.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's because sometimes you can't just talk to everybody. They get scared and going crazy because they don't want to interrupt their belief system. So.
Oh, we're all about that, John. We be arguing and everything.
He's on the page. He's on the Facebook group page, but he's never done a live before.
Shout out to you, John.
I'm definitely gonna be joining in.
And it's a tame one.
Right, we normally misbehave when we have a new person. I don't know why we behaving today.
I do. I behave the first time you come on. I don't act up to the second time you come on.
I've got the pledge pulled up.
Okay, let me hear it.
So, of course, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic. So that's the regular one, right? The Texas one is the pledge of allegiance to the Texas flag is, let's see, honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. And then you go on with the rest of the pledge of allegiance. I just all I see is like little.
This is so funny.
Little statues. It's an interesting thing. They are so serious about it.
State. We stand alone. Is there any other blind assumptions that
I have
we
one.
got 13 minutes? Okay, what you got, Nikki?
It's the only one I can think of, and I don't know why this has stuck with me for like probably. Well, my son is 14, so this conversation took place when I was working at the last place I worked for, and it was like 14 years ago. I was pregnant with him, and it was Memorial Day, and it was a work day. I was at work, and the conversation of riding with your lights came on, having your headlights on when you leave today. And my boss's son, who was working there at the time, he was like, "What do you mean ride with your lights on?" He's like, "What does that mean?" And I was like, "What do you mean? What does that mean?" He was like, "Why would you ride with your lights on?"
Okay, hold on. Pause right there. Everybody on here, do you know what Nikki's talking about right now? Because I don't even know what she's talking about.
And I just gave you all the context you need to know about why and when.
Your lights on your car?
Yes.
I know where she's going, but I never heard of this shit in my life. I didn't know this was a thing.
Right. So I'm saying that's probably a blind assumption because I'm telling you right now, I'm not even familiar with the angle in which you're talking about. So that's
so you never heard the conversation about lights being on Memorial Day, riding with your headlights on Memorial Day?
Nope.
No.
John,
why would you have it on Memorial Day versus any other day?
So think about it, right? So this is where but obviously you don't know. So this is why this was so wildly fucking amazing to me that you didn't know.
Yeah,
John, do you know?
Or the fallen soldiers.
You ride with your headlights on to memorialize people that were lost on Memorial Day. Like you do in a funeral procession, you have your headlights on. Like on Memorial Day, you ride with your headlights on to memorialize people who lost at the war. And I just assumed everybody knew that. I've known that since I was a child. And maybe that's because my dad was a military person.
Right.
My dad was in the Navy. So it's just like you just do certain things. Like you pop a lot of fucking fireworks on the 4th of July and you ride with your lights on Memorial Day. And I was floored to learn that like this kid whose dad was like my dad's age. I was like, what do you mean you don't know? And that has stuck with me for like 15 years.
So that's the perfect example of
and none of y'all knew this either. Well, except John. Wow. Okay.
And I'm a military person. I'm a military person. I never heard that.
I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of military people in my family.
Okay.
So that's not something that's common to us.
Right.
I've never heard that before.
Wow.
My dad was in the Army. My mom was in the Army. My brother's in the Army. My cousin was in the Army. My aunt was in the Air Force. Like, I've never heard of this a day in my life.
You've never heard that either? I wonder why it was just... But it's crazy to me, though, because like on Memorial Day, I feel like the volume of people who have their headlights on in the daytime is way greater than any other day of the week, right? So like I feel like I think that people know, but it's crazy that
that's crazy,
it isn't
Nikki.
commonly widely known.
Even if everybody had their lights on Memorial Day, I wouldn't even have noticed.
Pay attention, yeah.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
right.
Maybe it is. I wouldn't be like, oh, why everybody got it's daytime and the lights. I wouldn't even notice that their lights is on.
Well, and now people have so many cars have automatic running lights. So I think it's just a default setting that you're just used to seeing lights on cars. But like this was like 15 years ago, and he's like, I've never heard of that before. And I was like, get the fuck! I was like, you're not fucking American. But that was one of my blind assumptions. I just thought everybody knew.
Okay, wow. Denise, you have any blind assumptions?
No, I was literally thinking about this. There's not one thing that I think everybody knows.
I got one. Ivory, you got one before I go?
No, go ahead.
There's not one thing that everybody knows. I like that. Okay.
Blind. Okay. The Earth is round.
Don't you start with...
You're right. That would have been a blind assumption of mine some years ago, but it's not anymore. But it definitely, would have been a blind assumption.
You would have assumed that back
Earth
then.
is
She's like, but
round.
I don't assume it anymore.
John, is the Earth round?
I can't definitively say yes or no.
Because really none of us can really actually. But
I wouldn't put my life on it though. You know what I mean? I wouldn't put my life on it. I wouldn't put my paycheck on it. I wouldn't put
that it is round. You wouldn't put money on it that it is round.
No.
Okay.
I think it is, but I wouldn't like put my life on the line.
No, that ain't the question. No, right. Denise, let me rephrase the question. If you got to put your money on one or the other, which side are you putting your money on?
How much money is it?
All your money. Your life savings now,
my life
past, present, and future.
Man, y'all gonna have to take me out because I just couldn't do it.
I could. Denise, let me take it a step further.
Evidence to support either.
But Denise,
I'm the type of person I gotta see for myself.
No, I ain't gonna let you get out that easy. Hypothetical. You not making a choice.
I mean, it's true.
Is you taking all of your money, past, present, and future is being taken if you don't make a choice. You got to choose one or the other. Which side do you choose?
I'm not a betting woman.
Oh, well then you lose all your money then.
You lose by default. I can't do that either.
Yeah, you lost all your money. If I gotta go one side or the other, then I'm gonna go to Earth is round.
I'm gonna go round just because.
Because why?
Because if I had to, and like looking at the sun gives me round vibes. So I would just assume all planets are round just because the sun is giving me that, and that's the only one I can see. And the moon.
Denise, you making this way more complicated. Let me make it real simple for you, Denise. Ivory, do we live in a 2-dimension reality or a 3-dimension reality?
I mean, definitely it's not 2. Is it 3 or is it more?
If we live in a 3-dimension reality, it's more likely that the Earth is round than it is flat. It's more likely that our Earth, our solar system, our galaxy, our universe is also 3-dimensional. 3-dimensional will give more. It would lean more to something being round or circular than it would being flat. So whether I know or not, then that's just the simple basics for me to say it's more, whether I know or not, it's more likely that it's going to be round than it'll be flat.
That's funny.
And that's just from a dimension, a basic dimension. I operate in dimensions. What is it that's completely flat in my here and right now? Everything has dimensions and depth to it.
Okay,
So even if I
define
didn't think it was round, I would say it's square. It's something that has depth and dimensions to it, and not just flat.
Q, like now you're doing semantics right now, because like if someone says the earth is flat, they don't mean flat as a piece of paper. That's just not even realistic. Like it has to be at least
hold
a
on,
triangle.
Denise. We're not just talking about the earth. We're talking about, do you believe that earth is all that's in existence in the universe?
No.
Okay, so hold on. So do you believe that everything is linear, meaning everything is flat, or do you believe that there's things above us and below us, just like the seas and the water and the mountains? There's things above us and below us. There's dimensions to this earth.
Yes.
So why wouldn't there also be dimensions in the universe as well?
But hold on. Like, let's pretend right now that my world is the center of the universe. I'd love that, right? And well, look at this. What if the earth is kind of like this?
No, look at this. No, look at this.
Kind of like that.
I keep this motherfucker on deck, because when this conversation comes up, we're not even gonna fucking pretend with what our eyes think the planet looks like. We're gonna go with this bullshit model that they said is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour.
Exactly.
And gravity just making a stick on this motherfucker, and ships are going upside down, and people down here are upside down, and I'm just gonna go with this because that's what people say I gotta go with.
Exactly.
No, all my money is going somewhere else. It ain't going to this bullshit story.
So you're gonna go to it. You're going to every other planet and star being flat.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
I don't know what happens up there. I just know this motherfucker we stand on right now is not the picture that they tell us. I don't know.
Everything else could potentially be round, but out of all of the planets and the stars and the solar systems and the rocks and all of this other stuff, we the flat one. Everything else we don't know about.
I just made that argument, Q, and you shut me down.
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm shutting her down too. Nicely.
Hey, Q.
Okay, John, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, have you ever flown in an airplane?
Yep.
Yes.
Plane. Fucking airplane.
Okay.
Plane.
Would you let him finish making the point?
Have you ever flown from the East Coast to the West Coast?
Yes.
I've flown from the South to the West Coast.
Okay.
The South to the North. South to the North, the South to the West.
Have you ever flown overseas?
Yes.
No, sir, I haven't.
Okay. Is anybody on here ever flown overseas?
I have.
At any point, did you ever get to a point or existence that plane could have went around? Just like on that globe.
Could have. I wasn't looking out the window for 15 hours.
Right, yeah, I was going to go
when you did look out the window, what it looked like though? Flat.
A bunch of blue. I wouldn't know if I was going around or straight. It was just a bunch of blue skies, y'all.
If it was around, it would disappear.
It wouldn't.
No.
I think the only concept, or if we have physically, and I don't think we have physically been outside of the universe. I don't think we have. I don't think man has. They can say we sent the rockets up, and I don't think, like you said, they are dimensions. I believe that. There are dimensions that we can only go so high before we get outside of another dimension and get into that fourth dimension. I really like you when you said that, Q, about the third dimension, but we haven't gone any higher than that. We're only within that third dimension. And I think if we elevate and go outside to be able to look down on Earth, we're in another dimension. And we haven't done that.
So what I'm saying is it may not even, and what scientists say, that the Earth is not a perfect globe the way that they showed the ball. It has more girth lower, closer to the equator, south than it is. But
it's a saucer.
There's nothing about what we know, and not okay. So let me even go back a little bit further. Have you ever? You can, if I go, there's times that I've gone 15, 20 miles, which is this much on a globe from 15, 20 miles. And I can feel that I'm going one direction, but it can so slowly and subtly turn. By the time I get to 15 miles, I could think I'm still going north when I'm actually going east. But I wouldn't know it because the change is so slow and so gradual that it's not something that you are going to be able to verify with just the human eye and the basic senses. So when people say, once you get up in the sky and how come you can't see the curve? Well, our senses and our abilities, which your limited eyes don't give you that ability. Just like we don't have the same ability. That's like an eagle can be up 3 or 4 miles in the air and they can see a mouse. We're not able to see it, but that don't mean that it's not there just because our eyes are not able to perceive a curve.
You can take a telescope and you can see from, I think it's like, I don't know, somewhere in Michigan across the lake to see the skyline of New York City. If there was a curve, that would disappear below the curve
me
line.
and you, Nikki, I'm gonna go to your house and we're gonna get the right telescope. We can
our
see
naked
the New
eye
York
can't
skyline.
see that far. Our naked eye can't see that far away. But if you took a telescope and you straight shot that telescope, our eye's gonna lose it because our eyes can only see so far. But that telescope absolutely sees it at the same projection. If there was a curve if there was a curve at the mathematical point in which they tell us the curve exists, you could not see New York City. It would dip down below the line because that's where the curve is supposed to start.
Texas telescope, New York skyline. I'm about to Google this and see if it pops up.
Michigan, Texas. It's somewhere in Michigan, and it's Michigan and New York City. I'm sorry, somewhere in Michigan there's a point, and then there's a part in New York City where you can literally see straight across. No, not Texas. Okay. No, not Texas. Not Texas.
Why not? How come if the Earth is flat? How come I wouldn't be able to see these 100-story high-rise buildings?
I mean, because most things can't see that fucking far away. That's just a terribly unrealistic expectation. That's just too far.
The human eye can only see
but that's the point of the argument that we make again. The flat earthers make that argument that you can see all across there. It ain't. How come you can't see? The argument is how come you can't see the curve?
Texas. Ain't nobody said that dumbass shit.
No,
ain't nobody said we can see that far. A flat earther knows your vision is only going to go so far. We're way smarter.
The argument is how come you can't
only
see the curve?
So far. But a telescope will give you the same thing your eyeball can't see, and it shouldn't if the curve existed where NASA tells you the curve existed.
Nikki,
it would dip. It would not be a flat, straight
that
shot.
I hear a lot of flat earth believers say is how come we can't see this curve?
Well, yeah.
And what you just said lends to the argument of, we're not able to see that far. And that's what the people who think that the earth probably
because if the curve still existed, you would take the same telescope that could see that the eyes can't, and you would take a straight telescope and you would shoot those projections, and it's not like they're going to magically appear. They're still below the
I can't use this telescope to see the New York skyline from Texas. That's the same argument we use.
You can't. I said Michigan to New York. I said Michigan to New York, not Texas to New York. That's not a realistic vision of any telescope unless you're.
I think
if the Earth is flat, why wouldn't it be? If we can use a telescope to see Jupiter and Saturn, why wouldn't we be able to see New York?
Well, so that assumes you have to believe that those telescopes are doing what they tell you that the telescopes are doing.
Oh man, come on.
That would mean you have to believe in planets and that they can see that far and all those variables. But when you look at a telescope that's in your living room, it's going to see further than your naked eye can see. If there was a corner in a house and I can see down a hallway, you're going to disappear behind the corner. But if that corner doesn't exist, I'm going to catch you still in the telescope. Even though my eyes might not be able to catch you, the telescope would still catch that. But if there's
John,
a curve,
these
it
are the
shouldn't be
arguments,
there.
John, that you gotta get used to. now we hear John.
It's a blind assumption that the Earth is round. I agree. It is a very blind assumption that the Earth is round.
I just want to throw some spice in there.
A lot of people don't believe that. In the last 6 to 7 years, that has been a whole thing. Like, I mean,
that's why Kyrie Irving caught so much flack when he said that the Earth was flat, and scientists and the government came down on him for saying that.
Of course,
and it made him look like he was silly, like he didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah. I ain't like that. I didn't like that.
You can't be out here telling the truth. Ain't that what Max says? Don't be out here telling the truth.
How you don't know if it's the truth. All I say is he's telling his truth that most people are not in position to verify one way or another. So I didn't like the way they was going.
And which side gets vilified and penalized?
Right.
And
I don't agree with that.
Ostracized.
I don't agree with that. Right.
And to Nikki's point, like, if it's nothing, right? Like, if it's just some bullshit, why make such of a big deal about it in the media if it's just some bullshit? Because it's not causing harm. It's not
argue on the opposite side. I feel like I'm globe shamed by the flat earthers.
No.
Yes. You keep going around thinking the earth round if you want to. Oh, he one of them. He one of them round globers. See, you see her, she mocking us. She got it right there just to mock people.
I was gonna say that's when you asked me about blind assumptions. I'm like, at this age, I've gotten rid of all of them. I don't.
She's like, you just have to.
There are no blind assumptions.
I don't assume
that's probably the conclusion
knows
of this whole conversation.
Anything anymore, but I feel like I spent my whole life with tons of blind assumptions. I finally let all of them go a few years ago. Forget it. Nobody knows everything. So
see, look, we rubbing off on Ivory finally. She's the most black and white person, and now we got her to acknowledge the shades of gray.
No, I don't live in the gray.
Yeah, you are. You just said it. You just said it. You can't go back on that. We see it.
No, sir. You know my life is black and white, but I do see.
Ivory got shades now.
Live like I live.
I've seen it. Ivory got shades. She just want to keep saying she black and white. She ain't black and white no more. She not. She might as well go and accept it. It's all right.
I think
Welcome to the gray side. Welcome to the gray side.
I think the part I like the most about this is that none of us really had a suggestion. Like, we had maybe like one idea, like something that like a universal everybody should know, but like nobody really had many thoughts past maybe like that one, you know? So it's interesting that collectively, even though we all think and agree about different things, like nobody really had a list of assumptions that we just assume everybody got or that everybody knows.
So I think
now let me say this,
the proper evolution of where we are right now should be I think that's the proper evolution. Instead of saying I know, is to say I don't know. True. I think, I believe, but I leave room open for that which I don't know. And I think that's the proper response. Ivory, what were you about to say?
I was going to say, I no longer have a list of assumptions, but I have not lost the list of judgments, right? So many of judgments.
They're not the same. That's not the same in my opinion.
I don't have the assumption.
No, it's not.
No, I might judge you for not knowing.
You're just trying to hold on to it.
Right. You just know.
You know, but I know those are two different things. So
right.
You know,
I think, because but that's the same thing with me. If anybody talks to me, they know I have strong convictions on what I believe, but those beliefs are never so set in concrete that they're not open to change. That's great.
No, that's not what I mean. I don't mean judgments like I'm open to change. I mean, like,
but you are open to change, Ivory.
No,
we see
like
it.
A judgment that's not like an assumption. Like I can't assume that people know that it's horrible for you and your children to be in an abusive relationship, right? I do have a judgment that you should know that, though. I don't assume that you know anymore, but I do have a judgment.
But you're open to the conversation of people presenting different sides to a story.
Right. So I'm open
Great.
to people
That's a shade,
presenting
Ivory. That's a
side that
shade.
lets me understand why you would be in that situation where
People who
before
are
maybe
black
I
and
wasn't
white are
open.
not even open to hearing other perspectives. I'm trying to tell you, you turning gray. I'm gonna let you know.
No. All I'm saying is now I'm open to hear what have happened in your life that would make you think that's okay. Where before I might have just been like, "Are you crazy?
How do you not know?
How do you not know that that's not something you should do?" So that in that way, I'm changing. I can hear, but I still got judgments. But
okay, judgments don't mean that you're completely black and white. That means you stand on your convictions, and until you give me solid, concrete evidence of something contrary or something that will force me to see things in more than just the way that I see it, that's a grayness. Those are shades. Admit it.
No,
I wouldn't say that's greatness. I think gray area mean you're kind of in between.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's the gray area.
Indecisive. Gray is
No, it's not.
indecisive.
Gray acknowledges that there's no. Gray acknowledges that there are very few definitive ideals or statements, and you are open to nuance. And Ivory, I know that you're open to nuance.
Oh yeah,
nuance is gray
with some things.
Okay.
No. But let me not say this because
what color scheme are you basing this off of?
I think to say I'm open to nuance.
You said what color scheme?
No, I was gonna say I think to say I'm open to nuance would still paint the wrong picture because I'm more open to understanding people and their choices better. But it actually very few things change my perspective on the world or how I see it. That's why I call myself black and white. Like I can understand you and the choices you make better, but I just don't normally change how I see things or how I think things should go, even though I understand you better. So that's why I say I'm still black and white because I don't really change my stance very much.
Okay, so what I can say is I see, and you can say that and you can stand on that, but I see the progression and the evolution from how you would view that black and white versus how you view it now. Okay. And the evolution of that shows nuance and shades of gray. Now I'm not okay, maybe you charcoal black, but that's a different shade than black.
We'll take it. I'll take it.
It's like 1-2 shades under.
It's changing though. Black and white doesn't change. That's what that's my point. Black and white don't change. Huh?
I said I take that.
Okay, you graying up. That's all I'm telling you. All right, I tried to get on Nikki nerves. I tried to get on Ivory nerves a little bit. I'm prepping myself for next week. That's all. I'm just prepping myself.
Yes, next week. Do we have do I have a little banner from previous?
What's happening next week?
It's our last Tuesday of the month. So I'm sure the date is not accurate on this, but the information is on there. So of course we'll post more, but we will be at Dirty Glove Midwest Barbecue. It's a food truck off of Howard Lane. Of course, we're in Austin, Texas. So join us next Tuesday. Again, all the information will be on the Facebook Freethinkers group page. We'll have a special menu available. It is outside, but it's a covered enclosed pavilion, so it's absolutely weather is fine. 8 o'clock till 10. Q definitely lets everybody know at 10 o'clock the meeting's over. You can stay if you want, leave if you want.
9:30. I'll let you know at 9:30 when the meeting over.
True that, and we usually stay, till good 11:30, 12 o'clock, just kicking it. It's just a great time to just sit back, kick it, chill, shoot pool. It's BYO, whatever is your thing. Come support local, buy up some food, and come meet some people and have a totally not live conversation. We do not record it. We don't go live. We take some pictures. We'll tag some folks who showed up or whatever, but we do not record the conversation. So it's just a great way to do this and not have people all up in your thoughts and opinions if you're nervous about the online aspect of this, and just come in and have some great conversations. So next Tuesday, and it is the last Tuesday of every single month. So once a month, we meet in person last Tuesday. So we'll have information, but that will be next week. So that means next week we will not be here live. We will be at the food truck. So come join us if you're local. It's great.
All right.
It's absolutely great.
Maybe in the future, you know, Denise, if y'all want to run it, then y'all can run it, and then we can just do it live. But if y'all ever want to run it, then let us know. Y'all can run the live, and we can do it in person where we at. So let us know if y'all ever want to do something like that.
No, I think we should make it definitely be in person to force people to get.
Oh, well, then you need to come to Austin. Then you need to come to Austin.
Denise, you need to coordinate a Tuesday. If you
right,
come
we do. I almost had it down.
I know.
It was just I couldn't. I had to make so many choices. If my nephew didn't have that game, I would have come on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, can I say something real quick? Oh my God. Y'all, thank you so much for everything. Like, I thought I was just hanging out, and it was a whole birthday party.
It was
a whole birthday party, and there were like balloons and my cake. Chef's kiss. Like, it was just as good as I remember it from before. Like, thank y'all so much for coming out, and like, I miss y'all. I know I did get to see y'all like last spring, so it wasn't as much time that had passed since the last time, but it was just so good to see y'all in person. And like, I got to meet Stephanie for the first time. She gave me a little crown, which I still have, and like, it just felt so supportive. Like, y'all, I have been feeling so exhausted lately just from everything. So like, for my first time to perform again since me doing my album release, it didn't even feel like a performance. I just feel like I was hanging out, and it was just like all the love that I needed right now. So I love y'all so much, and I appreciate y'all so much, because y'all have no idea. Like, just being around my friends, it just feeds my soul in ways that I just need so much. So I just have to say thank y'all a million times for doing. Y'all didn't have to do all that, and y'all did, and I'm just so happy. So I love you guys. That's it.
We love you. We love you, and we are happy to support, man. There's nothing more exciting than watching your friends fucking soar. Like, there literally can't be anything cooler than just your regular ass homies from your down home city who you used to drink coffee and talk shit with, like, who have taken their passions and their creativity and their self and did something, and we get to fucking sit and watch and like see this come to fruition. Like, thank you for allowing us to be a part of something spectacular. Like, that's what makes this so amazing. You never fucking know, but it is so cool to watch the birth to where you are today. So, man, we're fucking honored to be able to hang out and have a good time. What, two Fridays ago? Like, that was right. And it just worked so amazing that everybody plays a role. You got Smack doing his thing, and me and Q were there, and you had a couple other friends show up, and Stephanie came and did all the decorations, and Trey showed up. I mean, it was perfect. It was perfect. So, I mean, I was so happy that we were all able to like experience that together, because that's where we come from, is together. That's how we started, was together.
So what's the name of her album? What's the name of your album?
It's called The 11th Hour.
The 11th Hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll drop it in the comment section on this video. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll always support people.
Is it 11 2 11s or ELEVEN?
Two ones.
Okay, 11th hour. All right, cool. Yeah, it is. Like, if you go to the Facebook Freethinkers page and you just literally click on her name, you're going to eventually be able to find the link, no doubt.
Okay.
And I mean, I guess that's what I'll just say last, is that we, as a group, we through our debate, we get to know one another, and what we do is we get to know the true core of each other and the heart of each other, and It's a debate group, but it turns into a community and it turns into family. And it's like everybody here is my family right now. So get down with it. Just, get down. This is nothing that's forced. Yeah. This is something that over time, this is just, you don't have to make anything be anything. This is just what it is. Denise is my family. Nikki is my family. Ivory is my family. Edward is my family. Smack is my family. Jules is my family. Like that's not forced. It just is.
I've been following Nikki for a minute, and sometimes it's hard on Tuesday nights because I'm a baker also, so I'm in the kitchen and I'm vibing, getting orders out. But on my full-time job, I'm working up in Jacksonville this week, so I had a couple days so this was perfect. I was sitting in a hotel like, okay, I got no distractions, so now I can engage in this. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm gonna try to jump on as much as I can. Definitely.
That's what's up.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. Make sure you let everybody know in the comments or on Facebook how to find you. You are out of Florida, and he makes some phenomenal fucking treats too, y'all. So we've got friends out that way. So just keep coming back. That's one of the things I always heard growing up at the end of them damn meetings. Just keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back. Like we just be having some great conversations up in here with some phenomenal people.
Yep.
Wow.
What?
That was a mindfuck for me. Like how your family did the 12-step program?
Yeah.
This is like a different version of that in some ways. Like, you know what I mean? And that just kind of hit me because it's interesting, like how just what's in you just comes out like in some shape or form, whether you're doing exactly whatever it was you were taught or if it was some different version of it. Yeah.
I say that y'all don't know how many times I say that in conversations when people either give me kudos or give me praise or, man, I love hearing y'all the way you think, or I never thought of things that you said. And I don't know how many times in a week I'll be like, I credit that to my group. And it's not me coming up with just thoughts and thinking. I'm taking the thoughts and the ideas and the perspectives of different people who I interact with, and I'm connecting it, and it's making it makes me better. It gives me a wider perspective of things that I normally wouldn't have the ability to just see for myself. I say this at least 2 or 3 times a week when I talk to people, whether it's in my professional industry, when I'm giving somebody some advice and they're like, oh man, that's crazy, I never thought about that. I was like, yeah, I never thought of it either. It's my community. It's not, whenever you hear me talking, it's not just me talking. When I'm talking, it's Nikki talking, and it's Denise talking, and it's Ivory talking. Like, I'm speaking, what's coming out of my mouth is a conglomeration of a lot of thoughts that I've put together and that I've consolidated in my mind and be like, oh shit, this is truth right here. And I'm able to just see things in a wider perspective that I never would have been able to see for myself. So I appreciate y'all.
And we can't sell it to you. We cannot sell it to you. If we could, we'd be fucking rich. We'd be monetized. we'd have 3.2 million viewers if we can sell it to you. Like so I don't think that we're supposed to be able to sell it to you. You just gotta fucking find us.
Yep.
You just kind of got to know somebody who knows somebody who stumbled into these weirdos on fucking Tuesday night with this loud ass girl, and you just got to stumble into somebody who's like, you might be good for these people I know on Tuesdays, and miraculously, whether people stay for a short time or a long time, they leave their mark around here one way or another. So. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of it. Thank everybody for allowing us to fucking be a part of it. Like, I know I'm not alone when I think sometimes it could easily just be me and Q just talking all night long. But like, y'all don't leave us hanging. It's never just me and Q, like even if there aren't people joining us, there's always people tapped into the conversation in the chats or in our DMs or in our text messages who won't fucking post online, but will definitely hit you up privately. So it's like, on the rare Tuesday where we're both just beat dog shit, life just kicked the shit out of us. We may call in a Tuesday, but we show up and we never know how it's going to turn out, but it's always fucking great every Tuesday. Just every time. And we get to meet amazing people and get to be a part of people's lives in sometimes the most, intense, traumatic, soul searching, back broken, fucking wound bleeding. Like, we come across people in the most vulnerablest of times sometimes. Yeah. And I'm just grateful to be able to be just a small little piece of somebody's journey, and vice versa. So come fuck with us next Tuesday. Hit the share button. And you know what? Something that one of my new housekeeping clients told me yesterday. She's very wealthy, and I'm like, I need your fucking friends. Like, that's who I need. I need to clean your friends' houses, right? Like, I'd clean anybody's house, but I need some wealthy fucking clients, right? This rent is going up. And so we were talking about how she's got like a neighborhood page or whatever, and she's like, oh yeah, I could totally post all your information on the neighborhood page. People are always looking for housekeepers and da-da-da. And in my mind, I'm like, well, goddamn, tag my page. And she goes, but then I worry, like, am I going to lose you? Like, is there just going to be so many people that like, I'm going to lose you? And I'm like, girl, you never forget how you get fed. Never. I'll never bite the hand that feeds me. I'm way too smart. My daddy raised me way better than that. But it was just the thought that if I tell people about you, I don't get the same thing from you. So I think sometimes people are like, I'm not sharing this page. I ain't telling nobody about this
people
page.
Get stingy. People get stingy sometimes.
I feel a little secret. It's like your little secret getaway kind of thing.
I feel like so. Somebody asked me recently why we're not monetized. And I'm like, you fucking tell me. We've been doing this for 7 years. We've been doing this online for 4. Like, I don't know. But
it's not gimmicky. That's why. If you ever notice any of these major groups any of the largest or most popular groups or podcasts, they stick to the same thing because they found a formula of something that either can incite a person's interest or can incite their rage or can incite their anger or their contrary or whatever it is. And we don't reach for the popular gimmicky thing.
Yeah.
And that's it. If we wanted to stay on a gimmick, then we could, but that's not what we after.
No.
Mm-hmm. No. Just do gender wars
right. And a lot of people, and that's what it turns into. A lot of people will just they'll do the gender war type of conversations over and over and over. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Yeah. No, we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're gonna talk about everything. We're gonna be well rounded. Yeah.
And I think we do a damn good job of doing just that.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, like look at tonight's conversation. Went from you and I to then you Hukanon tapped in, and then Ivory tapped in, and then Denise tapped in, and then John tapped in, and it was like, damn, we went from just you and I not really sure how we were gonna do this. We were both tired to start to now it's 10:10. Here we are, still going. Still tired. And we got a newbie, and Ivory got to join us. Been a minute. Denise got to join us. So. It's been great. So to your point, thank you as well. And you're welcome. You're super fucking welcome. So thank you.
All right.
Tuesday, next week. See y'all later.
Bye.